Welcome back to another daily reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And today's reflection is on how to achieve peace in any conflict. A great cognitive scientist out there, this guy, Dr. John Vervake. In fact, I interviewed him for the Magic Minds podcast that we do for my company, Magic Mind. And one of the things that he talks about is even within philosophy, especially in debates between philosophies or in proselytization of one philosophy to an audience, that what creeps in is instead of phylo-sophia, a love of wisdom, is phylo-nikea, a love of winning. These are two very different things. Phylo-sophia, the Greek words for love of wisdom, versus phylo-nikea. You might recognize Nike in that word. Phylo-nikea is the love of winning. These are diametrically opposed to one another. Because if you're pursuing wisdom, you're pursuing transformation. You're not pursuing winning in some static version of you against some version of an idea or articulation from someone else. But it can happen on a daily basis that we get caught in some conflict that we're trying to win. Even trying to apply a philosophy, force it down someone's throat. It's said in the Gita that it is actually an immoral act to try to give this wisdom to someone that is not seeking it. Swami will say it all the time. Knowledge is taken, not given. The fruit has to be ripe. You cannot just pluck it at any time or force this wisdom or any wisdom down someone's throat. I'm also reminded of the quote, "That which is forced is not forceful." And let's say the conflict is even far more mundane than trying to proselytize some philosophical viewpoint. Maybe it's just you proselytizing some viewpoint you have at work, or a viewpoint you have between you and your significant other, or a best friend. What does this philosophy say about resolving any conflict? Well, it says that all conflict and disharmony comes from selfishness. It might be fighting over a seat on the bus, but it is that selfishness from both parties wanting something that creates conflict. So there's two steps to untie the knot of any conflict in your life. One is to see how the other person might be right. Instead of a love of winning, you have a love of wisdom, recognizing, wow, there are about 1,000 times in my life where I was wrong. This might be another one of those, where I might be partially right, but wrong enough to where I can gain some wisdom by seeing their point of view. And when you say the words, you're probably right. Maybe it's a text between you and a parent, you and a friend, or a colleague. And in that text thread, if you drop those words, you're probably right. And you have a genuine love of gaining wisdom on where you could be wrong. You see where they're probably right, at least in the tiniest sense. You cultivate a perspective of, oh, I appreciate that they're sharing this with me. And you say those 3 words, you're probably right. You will watch their desire to win evaporate. I get that the fear is, wow, this is just going to embolden them. But it won't. Try it out. That act of unselfishness will surprise them so much that in actuality, it will be a mirror on them and their own selfishness. Even if they seemingly get the last word, watch what happens when you give up that desire to win and you tell them you're probably right. I have seen bodies completely shift, mentalities, even the inflection in the person's voice shift within seconds of saying those 3 words. The other step, and the more critical one, beyond just logistically writing or saying those words, and genuinely seeing where they could be right. This is not a put on. You actually see where they could be right. But the second and most important and lasting effect is if you don't need a certain seat, you'll never be agitated when someone takes one from you. You and your spouse are going out to dinner and you don't have a preference of where you go. Don't have a preference of which seat you take. Don't have a preference of which entree gets ordered or is sold out for that evening. Then you are walking harmony in anyone that's with you. There is not a single circumstance in which you, with some could be the most selfish person in the world. There isn't a single circumstance where it's not harmonious within yourself. There is not a single circumstance where you're not experiencing pure harmony everywhere you go throughout that night, throughout that vacation, throughout that day at work. When we don't have these selfish preferences, everything becomes blissful. Try it out the next time you're going out on a date where you just don't have a preference of where you go, what gets ordered, which seat you have, whether the Uber's too expensive and okay, we're going to walk or go somewhere close by, take the bus, whatever it might be. Try an evening where you don't have any preferences and watch how well it goes for you. So how do we get out of any conflict? Well, we recognize there is some selfishness within me that's causing this knot to begin with. I don't need to even change the other person. If I can change that within myself, the knot unties itself. And the second thing is these 3 atomically powerful words. You're probably right. Try those out. See where they could be right, where you can gain wisdom instead of gain some points on some fictional board. And see if you actually create harmony in that very moment, within seconds of choosing wisdom over winning. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.